Hi, folks. Hey, Mary Grace, June, Tom. I see. Ah, a couple of minutes for the YouTube servers to send out notifications to the people that forgot, and we'll be ready to go. You've been in here a while, June. Oh, me. A couple of more minutes. One more minute. Thank you, June. I appreciate that. Oh, I have got to do something that changes the lighting. I've got some lights that I built, but they glare real bad in my glasses. I've tried tilting them up. Got my cap on to hold my glasses up so they'll stay tilted up. They feel funny, but it makes the glare better. Oh, well, it is 6 o'clock. Time for the Mountain Crest Farm live stream on Sunday nights. Oh, a couple of people out there, one in particular, almost forgot what time it was because he forgot to change his clocks back until, what, about 2 hours ago? Not going to mention any names. I'm not going to tell y'all that it's Tom that did that. Oh, me. But it's time for the show, and tonight I touched on pasteurization last week in the show. Just in passing, talking about things that the government does that they really don't like homesteaders. And I got some questions this week. Got a question in the comments. Got a couple of questions email. People that were asking, did Pasteur uh, actually renounce pasteurization, like I said last week? And it's hard to find. It's hard to find citations on that are reputable. It's easy to find that looking at all sorts of weird websites. But if you look at good, want to find it on a reliable website, it can be kind of hard to track down. But I asked, I told the people that had commented and that emailed me that because of the questions, I was going to do another video on specifically pasteurization, or not a video, a live stream, specifically on pasteurization. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Before we do, I want to do a couple of house cleaning items. First of the show every week, I'm going to remind y'all that I do have a book out on beginners raising pigs. It's called Yesterday I Couldn't Spell Pig Farmer and Today I Are One. It's down there in the description. The link to Amazon. It is a Kindle only book. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can read it for free because they've got a lending library. And if you're not an Amazon Prime member, it is $8.99. Kindle only. May come out in paperback soon. I don't know. I'm working on that. I've been working on that for 3 years. That book is be 3 years old, January 9th. It was published on my birthday, be 3 years ago, January 9th. But anyway, there's a link down there in the description. I think it's one of the first links in the description that tells you it's the Amazon link for the book. Also, my favorite charity, and I try to mention this in every one of the live streams, and it's going to start being in my videos too. My favorite charity, if you just have some extra dollars that you want to throw somebody to help them out, um, I'm not big on big charities. I don't give to the American Cancer Society. I don't give to United Way. Uh, they spend too much money on administration, not enough money doing good. But there is a piece of the American Cancer Society that I do give money to. The American Cancer Society has things called Hope Lodges. They've got about 36 of them around the country, I believe. First one was in Charleston, South Carolina, by the way. If you have cancer and you're being treated and you live more than, it's either 45 or 60 miles from where you're being treated, and that city has a Hope Lodge, Hope Lodges will put you up for free. You and a caregiver, you bring your clothes, you bring your food, period. Uh, they are extremely nice places. When I say bring your food, bring food to prepare. They have kitchens. The one I was in here in Atlanta had two kitchen areas, and each kitchen area had four complete cooking stations. So 8 different people could be cooking all at one time. And extremely nice places, and they operate on donations. And down there in the description, and I think Tom just posted a link for donating to the Atlanta Hope Lodge of the American Cancer Society. That is my favorite charity. It's the only charity you'll ever hear me recommend. Well, I'm not going to say ever. I might find another one I like in a month. But right now, that's the only place I donate money to. I will go out and buy Toys for Tots. But as far as reaching in my pocket for cash, the Atlanta Hope Lodge of the American Cancer Society. That's it. What else on house cleaning? Um, 2 hours after this show, at 8 o'clock Central Time, after this show's over, uh, at 8 o'clock Central Time, Prepstetter Bob, who I don't think he's in here tonight. Uh, let's see. Nope, I don't see Prepstetter Bob in here. Or at least he hasn't said anything if he is in here. He hadn't shown up on the chat list. But Prepstetter Bob has a live show every Sunday at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, called the Self-Reliant Road Show. Now, Prepstetter Bob and his wife, when he's in here, he's one of the moderators on the chat. He and Tom, when Prepstetter Bob's in here, he doesn't toot his own horn. But he and his wife have a school bus that's been converted into a motor home, and they go around the country helping homesteaders, helping them do, if you've got a project that's just beyond you, over your head in skill set, he drags a 20-foot trailer full of tools with him, and he'll help you. Last week he built a porch for a lady up in Tennessee her porch had been rotting down, and it was beyond her to rebuild it, and Prepstetter Bob did that. He goes around the country doing that. This is his second year doing it, and go watch his channel, the Self-Reliant Home Show, Self-Reliant Road Show, and watch his video, his live stream, and he's got regular videos too. Watch his live stream, helps him out, and it's a really good show. Gives you a good feeling to watch and see somebody helping people just because they want to help people. I'll have a video out this week that will be listed as a coffee chat, but it won't be your normal coffee chat. As a matter of fact, there'll be 2 of them this week that are that way. But one of them in particular, about helping people that need help. I think y'all will like that. I know my viewers good enough to know that I think y'all will like that one. It's just a little story I read, and all I'm going to do is read a story that it's nothing I wrote. It's not about me, but it's something I read that this time of year I think would be a very good story for y'all to hear. Let's see. I think that's about got the house cleaning. Don't forget to go to Thomas Schmidt Homestead Projects, Thomas's channel. Stick your link in there, Tom. Oh, so pasteurization. I said last week that Louis Pasteur, the inventor of pasteurization, renounced pasteurization before he died, actually on his deathbed. And yes, he did. There are two theories about illness: how you get sick, what makes you sick, how to not get sick, how to take care of somebody that does get sick. Back in the 1800s, there were two theories that were promoted about illness. One was called the germ theory, and that was being promoted by Louis Pasteur. That said that we get sick because of germs in our body. And we take medicines to kill those germs if we've gotten sick, or because of the germ theory, the best way to not get sick from milk is to kill any germs in it. The way you kill the germs in it is to pasteurize it. Heat it to 170 degrees for, I forget how long. The higher you heat it, the less time it has to be heated. But that's based on the germ theory. Now, one of Louis Pasteur's contemporaries, same period of time in the 1800s, was another Frenchman. Louis Pasteur was French, and it was another Frenchman named Antoine Beauchamp. Antoine Beauchamp did not agree with the germ theory. Y'all have to forgive my dogs, they heard a cat. Lynn came in? I missed her. Where is she? There she is. Hey, hey. hey, Lynn. Louis Pasteur had a contemporary named Antoine Beauchamp. Antoine Beauchamp did not agree with Louis Pasteur's germ theory. He said that it wasn't the germ that made you sick. Germs are all around us. Bugs, bacteria, they're all around us all the time. They're always in our body. And that's not what makes people sick, according to Antoine Beauchamp. According to Antoine Beauchamp, what makes people sick is a sick, weak body to start with. That the body is set up for anything to make it sick. And he said it wasn't the germ, it was the terrain being your body. Now, in modern medicine, everything is done based on Pasteur's germ theory. That's why there's antibiotics. That's why there's vaccinations. It's all based on the germ theory. Now, everybody knows about germ theory because you know about modern medicine, and everybody knows about the most visible thing that we do for germ theory, and that's pasteurization of milk. But Louis Pasteur, even though he invented pasteurization, and even though he was a proponent of the germ theory, on his deathbed, I can't say it in French, but on his deathbed, he said, Beauchamp was right. It's not the germ, it's the terrain. If you keep your body healthy, I don't mean super healthy. I'm not talking about lifting weights 4 hours a day and not eating anything but wheat germ and things like that. I'm just talking about just live a generally healthy lifestyle. Don't do like we do these days in America. I'm sitting here with a belly on me. I do try to eat fairly healthy, but I'm not a nut job about it. But Louis Pasteur said on his deathbed that Beauchamp was right. Now, if Louis Pasteur, who invented pasteurization, which we now have shoved down our throats by the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance, which is a federal law, says you can't sell non-pasteurized milk across state lines, and the federal government, with the threat of withholding federal funds to state agriculture departments, forces states to enforce the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance, which is why there's only 31 states that you can buy raw milk in. Why would that be? Why would Louis Pasteur's pasteurization and the germ theory be the basis for our whole medical system these days? And Antoine Beauchamp's terrain theory be neglected? And should it be neglected? Or is it possible that it's right? Folks, y'all have heard me say before, I don't talk politics. And this is not politics, this is government. And I'm also a very, very, very big proponent of capitalism. What I am not a big proponent of is corporatism. And there's a difference between capitalism and corporatism. And I submit that the germ theory, things like pasteurization, vaccinations, and all that, I submit that that is because they make money. If you follow the germ theory, then there has to be big pharmaceutical companies to make the drugs to fight those bugs. Whereas if you follow the terrain theory, there's no money to be made. Natural doctor, naturopath, they can make a little bit of money because you pay them for their time when you go and they go tell you, well, do this and this and this, eat this way and this way. A little bit of money to be made in some natural, I'm not going to use the word medications, herbs and things that come from the earth. There's a little bit of money there, but there's not near the money that there is in big pharma. Now, I'm not going to sit here and blast big pharma. I don't like the way they do. I have made the statement before that they don't want to cure people. They just want to treat the symptoms because if they cure you, they lose a customer. I don't really know if that's true or not. I've made that statement before and I know I'll make it again. And I think there's at least a grain of truth in it. But I'm not going to sit here and just blast big pharma and say it's all bad. Most of y'all know at least part of my backstory, and y'all know I would be dead if it wasn't for big pharma. I don't take a lot of medication, but I do take some, and what I take is involved in keeping me alive, so I can't just say they're all bad, and there's no natural alternatives to what I take that I've been able to find. On the other hand, even having to take those medications is because of lifestyle. And Antoine Beauchamp said the way you live your life, your lifestyle, plays a big part in having a healthy terrain so that bugs won't. The bugs that are all around us, the bacteria is all around us anyway. But have a healthy lifestyle, keeping the terrain being your body. A healthy lifestyle keeps it where those bugs can't attack you. They just walk around on you. They don't. Beauchamp said that bugs are there all the time, everywhere, and they are. But he said that the bugs are basically harmless. They're bad bugs they get into your if they get in and start attacking your system, but that they only attacked weak tissue, not diseased, but tissue that was left open to disease. I guess this sounds terrible. Think of it like a vulture. Vulture doesn't go out and kill anybody. He sits in a tree, and when something dies on the side of the road, he takes advantage of it. He goes into that area. He attacks what is weak or dead, and that's where he goes. But he's flying around all the time. He's not hurting you or me. It's kind of the same way. Bugs are there all the time, but they don't hurt you until you are in a weakened state. That's how the terrain theory works. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. Matter of fact, I think there's more truth in that than there is in the germ theory. I'm one of those nut jobs, yes. Bob is a nut job. I'm an anti-vaxxer. I think vaccinations are dangerous. I've been looking lately at some of the ingredients in some of the vaccines. CDC, here's one real quick example. The CDC says that the acceptable level of mercury in anything that a human consumes is 0. Anything above 0 is dangerous. There's at least 8 vaccines that I've read about in the last week that contain mercury. But the CDC says 0 is the acceptable level. So I'm an anti-vaxxer for some other reasons too. Um, Hang on just a second, folks. Something went down the wrong way. Where was I? Okay, I'm against vaccinations. A lot of the drugs that are out there that we think are necessary. Let me give you an example. Everybody in government, in public health, will tell you that one of the dangers of raw milk is E. coli. And E. coli is nasty, bad, dangerous, kill you stuff. And and in young people, it will kill their kidneys. No, it won't, unless the doctor screws up. Do you know how E. coli kills people and how it kills kids and how it destroys kidneys? E. coli is, if you get an E. coli infection, you're going to spend a couple of days feeling miserable, and I don't suggest you get very far from the toilet. You're going to have stomach cramps, and you're going to need that toilet pretty good bit for a couple of days, and that's it. Unless you happen to be a kid and your mom takes you to the hospital, to the emergency room, over stomach cramps, over a little bit of diarrhea. I wouldn't take a kid to the hospital for that. But some parents would and do. And when they take the kid to the hospital, they do some blood work, high white blood count, a little bit of fever, stomach cramps. Doctor says that's a generalized infection. Rather than have to try to pin it down to what bug is it, he'll hit the kid with a broad spectrum antibiotic. And when you hit the E. coli with a broad spectrum antibiotic, that's when it gets nasty. That's when it starts shedding a thing called the Shiva virus. I think Shiva's a virus. That's what kills kidneys. If the doctor had done the blood work to find out exactly what bug it was, he wouldn't give a broad spectrum antibiotic, and the kid wouldn't wind up in ICU with failing kidneys. But lazy doctors figure it's not just a generalized infection. Give him a broad spectrum antibiotic and they'll be good to go tomorrow. No, the kid will be on his way to dead tomorrow. It's being mistreated is why raw milk can kill kids. It's because the doctor's not treating what's actually wrong. You get an E. coli infection, just don't get very far from the toilet for a couple of days. That's all you got to do. Just like anything in the kitchen, you get any kind of food poisoning, you're just going to wait it out for a couple of days. Do the same thing with E. coli from raw milk. I'm getting away from the pasteurization thing, but all of it involves. Okay, I'm not religious from the standpoint of denominations. I am religious from the standpoint of I know there is a God. And I figure God don't make no mistakes. When God puts stuff on this earth, and the Bible tells us to use it, the Bible says that after, he made man and woman, but he also made the plants and the flowers and the animals, and specifically says that they're there for our use. I don't think the world's a zoo. I don't think we're supposed to just look at all of them. I think some of the animals we eat, and I think cows, they give milk, or goats, they give milk, and we're supposed to use it. The screw up is when man starts messing with stuff like that. And pasteurization is messing with stuff like that. I don't believe the germ theory is, I don't believe that pasteurization is necessary because the germ theory is 100% the only thing there. I think the terrain theory is just as valid, and they can work side by side, just like I believe that Western medicine and Chinese medicine can work together. I believe in Western medicine, but I also believe in acupuncture, which is Chinese medicine. Because one is good doesn't automatically make the other one bad. And I think that Louis Pasteur was right on his deathbed when it came to keeping milk where it was healthy. It's not the germ, it's the terrain. And it was people adulterating milk. Couldn't produce enough milk for the big cities. When people started moving to cities, and they started dumping stuff into it to make it stretch it out. Sometimes it was just water, but they did all sorts of things to milk to stretch it out, and that made the milk bad. Who else has come in here? Let me see. Contentment. Welcome. I wish you had been here 20 minutes ago. I've been answering your question about pasteurization. Um, I'm not going to go back and do it all over again, but the video will be, you'll be able to watch the video. I think it takes about 15 minutes to become a watchable video after the live stream ends. But I'm glad you came in because you're the one that got me started on today's video. Yes, terrain is exactly. Terrain's the topography where the germ operates. And if the topography is healthy, the germ doesn't attack it. The germ only attacks the weak portions of the topography. Topography. Don't apologize, Contentment. It's it's not like this is a class and everybody's got to be on time or get points taken off. Um, but I'm going to put some links in the description down below that will, anybody that wants to pursue it further about the germ theory versus the terrain theory. Some articles that are good articles. They're not the nut job foodies that just are completely one way, and they're not the modern medicine, Western medicine is the only way to go, that's the other way. They're good, informative articles, and they leave you to make up your own mind, which is exactly how I think any decisions about food should be made. I am probably more so than things like pasteurization versus not pasteurization. My big thing is the government needs to shut up and get out of the way and let us make our own decisions about what we put in our own body. If I want to have raw milk and, according to the government, take a chance on E. coli or listeria, that should be my choice. If you want to go to the store and buy pasteurized milk, that should be your choice. But we should both have choices of our own to put in our own body what we want to put in our own body, not have it forced down our throat what we must or must not put in our own body. I don't have anything against McDonald's. I don't go to fast food joints, but that's my choice. But if you want to go have a Big Mac, that should be just fine. I'm really tired of the government telling us what we can and cannot do. Let's see. You're just auditing it? I don't get to give you a grade? Well, shucks. Phooey. Oh, me. Y'all are crazy. Lynn, that is one of my favorite peeves. And my wife gets mad at me because I won't wear a seatbelt. I'm sitting here knowing that a seatbelt will save my life in some wrecks. I know that. But damn it, since when should the government be allowed to force me to protect myself from myself? I've said this before, I'll say it again anytime we get on any subject like this. You're going to hear me say the same thing. The purpose of a law, any law, the purpose of a law is so that I cannot come hit you in the nose, and so that you cannot come hit me in the nose. But if you want to take that cute little nose on the front of your face and go run it into a brick wall over and over and over again, that's none of my business, and that's none of the state's business. A law should not exist to protect you from yourself, and that's all a seatbelt law is. That's all a lot of laws are. Raw milk versus pasteurized milk, same thing. If I want to make a choice, here's an extreme. I used to have a small goat dairy, had 20 goats I milked. Some of y'all know that, some of you don't. And they were Sonnins, which produce about a gallon a day. I produced about 20 gallons of milk a day. And that many Sonnins, I had a lot of goat poop around. If one of y'all had come to me and said, somebody told me that goat poop was healthy, that I needed to mash it up into little nuggets and bake them, and that would keep me healthy. If I told you that, I should go to jail. But if you believe that you got from somewhere else and you wanted me to sell you goat poop by the gallon for human consumption, that's none of the state's business. The state should have zero say in the choices you make for the food you want to put into your own body or that you don't want to put in your own body. It's none of the state's business. Let's see. Yeah, I know it's un-American, but I gave Mickey D's enough money in my younger days. I did a lot of things in my younger days that I don't do these days. Like drink, thank God. Tom, you like those burgers? Oh, just wait about another, let's see, about another 5 weeks and there'll be Wagyu burgers. Because my first Wagyu cow goes to the slaughterhouse the 27th of November, day before Thanksgiving. And I'll get that meat back about 10 days later. And the first thing I'm going to do is smoke a brisket. Takes a big rolling paper to smoke a brisket, you know. Oh. Lynn, you're right. Please stop making laws to protect me from me. Yes, contentment, it's always all about the dollar. Always follow the money. Do you know why the pasteurized milk ordinance is still in existence? That forces you to pasteurize milk if you're going to cross a state line with it to sell, and that gets shoved down the state's throats. I know I've already said this, but it was before contentment came in. And the pasteurized milk ordinance, it's a federal law, but it gets shoved down the state's throats where the states will enforce it within their own borders. That's money too. Do you know how many truly dairies? Now, when I say a dairy, I'm talking about you got some land, you got some cows, you milk the cows, you put it in a bottle, and you sell the milk. That's a dairy. Do you know how many dairies there are in this country anymore? Hardly any. What there are a bunch of farmers that have 50 cows here, 25 cows there, 100 cows over here, that get milked and put into a big storage tank. And that big storage tank, a tanker truck comes around, picks it up. Oh, and by the way, if you ever go look at those cows, you'll never drink store-bought milk again. But anyway, tanker truck comes around, takes it to a processing plant, bottles it, sends it to the store. The dairies that used to exist, I don't know if any of y'all, I'm not sure how big their reach was, but we used to have a dairy here in the southeast called Mayfield Dairies. Athens, Tennessee, 1,000 acres. And I forget how many cows, but a lot of cows. It was the biggest dairy around, Mayfield Dairies. They were bought by a company called Dean Foods. Except Dean Foods doesn't want to milk cows. Dean Foods bought Mayfield Dairies, did not buy the land, did not buy the cows, bought the name and the processing plants. And that's it. And now they go around to farmers that they pay so much a hundredweight to milk cows that are owned by the farmer, that the farmer has to feed, and that Dean Foods pays them so much money for, and take it back and process it, and put it in a bottle and call it Mayfield Dairies milk. Companies like Dean Foods, there's only about 3 of them, 4 of them in the country. And if the pasteurized milk ordinance was ever repealed, all those farmers who have the cows they're selling to Dean Foods because they can't, on a small scale, they can't do it on their own because of the pasteurized milk ordinance, they'd start doing it on their own. They'd start selling raw milk, and their cows would get treated a lot better, and the milk would be a lot healthier. But to take care of Dean Foods and companies like them and keep the money going into their pocket, you can't go buy raw milk just to protect the big corporations. That's what I said earlier. I love capitalism. I'm the biggest capitalist you ever saw in your life. But I'm not a corporatist. I'm not for corporations that run everything. Lynn said that she was tired of laws that protect me from me. Yeah, so am I. I'm also tired of laws that protect corporations. The government's not supposed to protect corporations. The government's supposed to get the hell out of the way of corporations and let them succeed or fail on their own. They're not supposed to give them big subsidies for anything. Mobil Oil, one of the most profitable companies in the world. You'd be amazed how big the government subsidy for Mobil Oil is. Mobil Oil shouldn't get a subsidy. Nobody should get tax breaks to start a business. I want to start a I want to start a penny arcade in downtown Jasper, a place for the kids to come. Government should give me a subsidy to do that, to rent a storefront, to remodel it like it is and like it needs to be and everything. No, I should put my own money into it, and it'll make it or it'll fail on its own. There shouldn't be subsidies. Let's see. Oh, contentment. One other thing. You said the purpose of a law nowadays is to collect a fine, and you're right. Let me ask you a question, and anybody that's heard me say this before, contentment's kind of new in here. I think they were here last week for part of it. Let me ask you a question, contentment. You said the purpose of a law nowadays is to collect a fine, and you're right. What is a license? See, if you know what a license is, stick in there what a license is. And if you don't know what it is, I'll tell you what a license is. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you sticking that link to my book in there again. No. Contentment, a license is a right that you used to have that the government has taken from you and sold back to you for a fee. Didn't used to have a license to go fishing. You just got your pole, got your kid, and you went fishing. Not anymore. The government took that right away. You had a right to go down to the creek and go fishing, but you don't now. Not unless you buy that right back from the government. Do you know you used to not have to have, and I'll do another video on this one of these days, you used to not have to have a license to drive a car. And according to the United States Supreme Court, a decision in 1933, you still don't have to have a license to drive a car. I'll do another video on that sometime. But licensing to drive a car is a right that you had that's been taken away from you. And it's a right that's in the Constitution. I'll show you one of these days in it, where it is in the Constitution. You have a right to drive a car. but they took that right away and they sell it back to you in the form of a license. Oh me, let's see. Who's too big to fail? Oh, I know what you're talking about. That was a smart aleck answer. Oh, well, this has been going on for about 38 minutes, and I'm about. Uh, did Supremes address what recently, Lynn? No, I don't think so. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. Uh, I have found three Supreme Court decisions that all say you have a right to drive a private vehicle. Now, all of them say that the state can force you to be licensed if you drive a commercial vehicle. But there are three Supreme Court decisions that say you have a right to drive without a license. And the most recent one I can find is 1933. Now, there may be something more recent, but that's the most recent I can find. But it doesn't matter. 1933 decision, if it's not been overturned, if the Supremes hadn't reversed themselves since then it still works. I guess that's about it for the night. This isn't a coffee chat, Tom. This is a live stream. Just because I'm drinking, just because I'm drinking something, it's not coffee. Notice that's a lot bigger than my coffee mug. That is switchel, also known as Haymaker's Punch. And I will be doing a video. There's a video I've got way back a couple of years ago about switchel and Haymaker's Punch, but it's mixed in with another subject on the same video. It's real hard to find. I'm going to do a video just on making switchel or Haymaker's Punch. It's a real healthy drink. It's an 1850s version of Gatorade. No chemicals, no nothing, just natural stuff that's good for you. And that's what I drink when it's after coffee time. An obligation to post coffee chats during the week, not at night. Well, there will be at least two this next week. They won't be normal coffee chats. They'll be coffee chats, and I think y'all will enjoy them. But they won't be what y'all have come to expect. Let me just say that. No, Tom, it's not known as Georgia Moon. There is a product called Georgia Moon. It is legal moonshine. It's a product that's made, I don't know if it's made in Georgia or not, but it is moonshine that's made in a very clean manner and has a federal tax stamp on it. It's called Georgia Moon, and I don't drink anymore. Given how much I used to drink, and given some of the issues that have happened because of my drinking, I don't need to be having any Georgia Moon. This is switchel or Haymaker's Punch. Let's see. Pete, you've missed most of the discussion. We're just sort of talking back and forth now. It's never too late. June likes the coffee chats. Well, I really appreciate that, June. Cappuccino. Contentment. I don't know if I'm talking to each ship or robber, but or maybe both of you. But look at this face. Does this look like a cappuccino face? I mean, really. Oh, Mary Grace, I really appreciate that. Enjoy anything I post. Darn. 51. 51 years of smoking's causing that. We are one. Okay. Uh, no, not a cappuccino. Not a. I can't think of anything fancy I like. Well, I take that back. Creme brulee is really good. And last night we had shrimp and grits. That sounds weird to y'all. But shrimp and grits is really good. We had that last night. Uh, a tea chat. Now, I'm not a tea type either. If you're a tea type, glass, water glass. If you're a tea type and you're holding your teacup, you got to keep that finger up there. I'm not a tea type, okay? Lynn, I met Tom. He was down here, what, 2 weeks ago now? New York to Georgia is kind of far for a meetup, but it would be pretty good. Now, I do like chicory coffee. People, I really apologize. I've got a tickle right there that just will not go away. Let me, hang on. Keep a big bag of Lifesaver mints just for this. Everybody keeps great big bags of Lifesaver mints, don't they? Can you tell I like them? This should help some. Three weeks ago, okay. No, contentment. I never had any problems with unpasteurized milk. Did you know that unpasteurized milk doesn't go bad? It just changes from milk into yogurt. Pasteurized milk, on the other hand, rots. Sure, June. My email's in the description. I don't know. If you email me, I'll give you my phone number. I don't. Is my phone number in the description too? It may be. I'm pretty open about who I am and where I am. But sure, no problem. No, you won't have a piglet in the back seat, but well, I guess Mary Grace is pretty small. I'm not sure how big Jim is. Four people in four adults in a, wasn't a Camry, what was it? I'm forgetting what kind of car you had. What, was it a Camry? That'd be kind of tight. So anybody else having any questions, comments? Do you like, if you like the video, don't forget down there at the bottom somewhere, hit that thumbs up. There's 7 people watching now. There's only 5 thumbs up and no thumbs down, so 2 of you hadn't hit anything yet. Anyway, hit the thumbs up if you like the video. If you like the channel, most of y'all in here are subscribers. There may be 1 or 2 that aren't. Anybody that isn't a subscriber, subscribe. Honda Accord, that's right. Okay. Anybody in here that isn't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And when you hit the subscribe button, after you hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you'll get notifications. Bought that at Tractor Supply the other day just for this. Got to paint it red. I don't like that. Cowbell just for YouTube. But yes, and I never do mention, share it around. You can share this channel. There's a little thing down at the bottom, the two little fingers. You hit it, and then you can share it different places. Facebook. And let's see. Will quarters spill out if I hit the bell? Contentment, if you hit that bell, I think I've got it set up to where there's automatically $1 million deposited into your checking account. But I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to make any guarantees. But I think I set it up that way. You did what when Tom was down here, Pete? Well, contentment, it takes a few minutes for the electronic transfer to happen and all that sort of thing. It'll probably be there when you wake up in the morning. But let's see. Hit the bell. You did. Thumbs up. I hope you did. Also, I want y'all to have an awesome week. I'm going to have an absolutely fantastic week. And I want y'all to have an awesome week too. I want you to come back and see me next Sunday. There will be some videos this week, at least 2 coffee chats that'll be up this week. There may be more. And but it's real easy to have an awesome week, folks. There's nothing to it. It's the simplest thing. It's not always easy, but it's the simplest thing in the world. If you'll remember 2 things, you'll have an awesome week. You need to remember, number 1, that the tomb was empty. And number 2, remember, he is alive. Now, y'all go out there and kill it. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, I'll be on the way to the slaughterhouse. I've got 2 pigs I loaded up in the trailer a little while ago, and they're headed for the slaughterhouse in the morning. I'll tell you all about how that turns out next week. See y'all later. Sundays, 6 o'clock Eastern. See you.